Well, hello in the many countries that we're all meeting from today, and a particular welcome to the people that are in Shanghai today for our presentation. We're so excited to follow on from Elena and Sabrina because they've said lovely things about us, and of course we feel it is a mutual admiration society. We have lovely things to say about them too. So thank you for that. This is a little bit of a follow-on with the data that we've collected inside the Department of Education program side. And so I would like to introduce my counterpart, Simone Richardson, who's the other maths advisor. And also with us today is Eva Siedlecka, who is our senior research analyst. And I think she would be waving to you now. And Megan Rodder, who is the leader of our mathematics curriculum team. And she'll probably be waving to you now too, but I can't see that because I'm sharing my screen. And we are also joining you from a Wabakal country. This is the Yarning Circle at my substantive school, at Hunter School of the Performing Arts on a Wabakal land. Simone and I are from there. Eva's joining us from Durrag and Gundungurra land. And Megan is on the lands of the Wamba Wamba Perapa people. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to any First Nations people among us from the many lands that you are joining from today. I'll hand over to Simone, who's going to lead us through what the Mathematics Retraining program looks like.
First, she will unmute herself. So we want to share with you what we've been doing on our side to complement Elena and Sabrina's wonderful work to address the issue of out-of-field teaching. So on the department side, our program of support has been running as a pilot since the start of 2023. And Eva is our lead analyst, as Cassie mentioned, and she's been evaluating the impact over the life of the pilot, and the results are now ready. You've gone a slide ahead, Cassie, so just stay there. Don't jump ahead, please. So look, the aims of the Maths Retraining program are to support participants through their study and to help bridge the gap between the mathematical content knowledge and the pedagogical content knowledge. And to this end, we've got three main branches of the program. I call this a not scholarship because we don't actually provide any funding directly to participants. So the first thing we do cover is university fees and all the associated costs like textbooks, and that's paid straight to the uni. The second support is that we pay for their school to release the teachers from their teaching duties to give them some time to complete their studies. Depending on the number of subjects they're enrolled in, they either get 1 day a week or 1 day a fortnight for study, plus up to 2 additional study days per term during those crunch times. And lastly, and this is what we want to talk really about today, is the mentoring and wraparound care. And that's where Cassie and I come in. So we are, as Elena mentioned, experienced maths teachers, and we've designed and implemented a suite of research-based supports for participants to help them successfully complete their studies and to emerge as quality maths teachers who have a solid grounding in pedagogy. And Cassie's going to expand a bit on our research base.
This is the framework we built the wraparound support on. The program has evolved over the last 20 months with increases to participant release time so that they have adequate time to study, the evolution of the community of practice, and other improvements based on what the participants were telling us that they needed. It's been a priority to ensure that our work is research-based. So early on, we decided to use this framework from an Australian Research Council grant to guide our work. The framework is focused on early career teachers. However, we found it has adapted well to fit our participants' support needs. If you'd like a copy of this framework or to study it in more detail, there's a link in the PowerPoint which will be provided to you, and Simone has added it to the chat. This slide shows some of the additional supports the program is providing directly to its participants. The cornerstone is the 2-day in-person induction event where participants meet us, they meet the university team, and they meet their mentors for the first time. While meeting face-to-face is ideal, an online alternative would be more cost-effective. The second item is the university increasing their learning support available to participants. including more tutorial time and access to individual and small group tutoring in the Mathematics and Statistics Help program, also known as MASH. Any costs devolved to the university in this way have made the program more cost-effective. Our participants are incredibly busy people with full-time work and part-time study loads, and so we offer a tiny bite of weekly professional learning in the form of a Think, Pair, Share. This is very low cost, and for us it relies on the expertise of ourselves as maths advisors, but also our extensive network of expert colleagues, and we're very glad to have Megan join us today as one of those experts. We currently offer 5 drop-ins for participants each week where they can talk online with us or with a mentor about pedagogy and content or seek wellbeing support. This has become part of our duties. And finally, we offer school visits where possible and practical, especially to our rural and remote participants. In term 3, I'm very proud of her. Simone went to Bathurst, Deniliquin, Wagga and Dubbo. She covered an incredible 3,700 kilometres over about a month. Simple technology such as a phone used to access and video lessons could replace this as a lower cost alternative. And I'm going to hand over to Eva now, who's going to talk about the successful aspects of the program.
Thanks, Cassie. So in terms of the successful elements of the program, the way that we really wanted to define success for the program was the development of strong teaching capabilities in mathematics as participants moved from being out-of-field teachers to in-field teachers. And although I didn't include a graph of it here, I can confirm that's what happened. And in almost this linear fashion, as participants moved through the program, they developed stronger teaching capabilities such that by the time they graduated, they felt confident teaching even the most advanced levels of mathematics, which was beautiful to see. As you can see from this graph, most program components, of which we had quite a few, contributed to developing those teaching capabilities to various degrees. But the elements that really had the most impact were the elements that both supported participants and provided resources to them. And the more supportive elements were definitely the mathematics advisors, so Cassie and Simone, who we have with us today, as well as the community of practice. So I'll be discussing these in quite a bit of detail today. And when I talk about the support provided to participants, I really mean support in 2 main ways. So both support to learn the content that they were receiving at university, but also the support to translate that content from university to the classroom and to their teaching practice. So moving on to the next slide, this also complements feedback that we received from participants when we asked them what they liked about the program. So again, the feedback heavily mentioned support, and this included from places such as the mathematics advisors and the community of practice, as well as just the general sense of community and support that all of the different layers of program elements built, as well as the resources provided to participants as well. So given that support was such a popular and important element in this program, we're going to now, looking at the next slide, take a look into the different elements of support. So as you can see, all of the elements that we really intended to provide support, so the mathematics advisors, the community of practice, and the mentor, all contributed really heavily to that support. However, we also accidentally had a few additional layers of support through both the school principals, who were generally really supportive of participant involvement, as well as other teacher participants in the program who engaged with each other to help each other as well. And looking at this graph on the right, as resources were that other really popular program element that helped to develop teaching capabilities, we can see that all of these were really instrumental in and useful for helping participants get through the program. And these included both supplementary learning materials as well as online mathematics videos. So I'm going to take a deep dive into two of those supportive elements now. The first one's the community of practice, and the second one is mentoring. And the reason why we're diving into these is because we think that they translate really well to other contexts, and translate perhaps a bit more easily than the other program components. So starting with the community of practice, starting with the graph on the left, as you can see, most participants both engaged with and contributed to this community. However, even when they didn't, they still felt a high level of support from it. And this was reflected in qualitative feedback that we received from participants as well, where they tell us things like, I don't necessarily post something every day. I don't necessarily answer questions every time someone posts something, but I know that if I go to that community, there will be someone there to support me. So it really was a strong source of support for participants. And participants used it in numerous ways. So for example, just for a general sense of camaraderie and not to feel alone, to answer common questions, or to ask for help when they perhaps didn't want to go to other sources of support in the program, like the mathematics advisors or the mentors. So looking into mentoring now, as you can see, once again, support and resources were the main benefits that participants described that they received from mentoring. And this support could look like receiving general advice from their mentor. It could look like developing a stronger sense of connection or a broader professional network. Or it could just be participants going to mentors for information where they knew they wouldn't be judged and they knew they'd be supported. So wrapping up all of this evidence, what we really want you to take away from this is that the two elements that were really instrumental to the success of this program were really support and resources. I'm going to pass back to Simone now, who's going to talk about how to potentially adapt some of these program elements to different contexts.
Thanks, Eva. So I want to give you a few more details about some of the elements, starting with the maths advisors. So the maths advisors are Cassie and I, and as mentioned earlier, we are experienced maths teachers. But beyond that, Cassie has a history of mentoring expertise both within her school and across the state, as well as researching and applying innovative teaching practices. And my career path has included using pedagogical research to lead professional learning across New South Wales, as well as mentoring teachers both locally and statewide, with a particular interest in stage 6, which is our final 2 years of high school. But I want to be super clear that perhaps our greatest strength in this space has been our personalities and our attitudes. We're both very supportive and non-judgmental people, and we firmly believe in the importance of respecting a teacher's professional judgment and knowledge of their context. We have dedicated curriculum experts in New South Wales who do wonderful work supporting our teachers, including Megan, who is here today. And it's not our role to replace them, but rather our role to share their work and to invite participants into the maths teacher community. And that's part of how we address the relationships and teacher identity elements of that framework that we shared. The learning resources are one of the ways that we bridge the gap between content and pedagogy, and they form part of how we address teacher work as well as teacher identity elements of the framework. So as Cassie mentioned, our participants are very busy and often don't have time to participate in the formal professional learning that's so essential for teacher growth. And we address that gap in several ways, as you can see here. At one extreme, we work with the experts to help distill their work into those 10-minute chunks that are accessible to our time-poor participants that was mentioned earlier. And at the other end, we've made videos looking at their university content through a pedagogical lens. Not here's how you do the maths, that's the uni's job, but rather here are some ways you might teach this maths. Let's have a conversation about what you might do, as well as many other activities in between. So these offerings are super responsive to teacher needs and constantly evolving. And Megan's going to tell you now about the community of practice.
Okay, so our mathematics statewide staff room, as we call it, has been operating for around about 5 years now, and we have well over 5,000 members, so teachers from across New South Wales. It's housed in Microsoft Teams and it's managed by my team, but it's a low-cost way to be able to work with teachers from across New South Wales. So the idea behind it is that it was set up to mimic the support and the conversations that happen within faculties in schools, and specifically maths faculties. There are actually statewide staff rooms for all subjects. So out-of-field teachers often know that the mathematics statewide staff room exists and are more likely to go looking for support because they're quite often a member of their own statewide staff rooms. It's a space to share resources, to ask questions, to seek advice, and just generally to participate in professional learning. So we run statewide staff meetings throughout each term and throughout the year, and they cover a really wide variety of topics, from pedagogy to curriculum to assessment and policies. We decided to create 2 private channels for the retraining teachers and their mentors. And this allowed them to feel comfortable asking questions in front of a much smaller group than the 5,000 odd members that are part of the wider statewide staff room. It allowed them to be exposed to what was happening in the wider statewide staff room and that community, and to be a part of the messaging and the professional learning that was happening. But it allowed them to have that safe, small environment where they didn't feel intimidated to ask questions. The idea of housing it within the bigger one also allows them to transition to the wider statewide staff room at the end of the training program. So Simone and Cassie have been using those private channels to assign tasks to the mentors and their participants, as they've both mentioned, and to also share resources that are relevant to those groups specifically.
Thank you, Megan. And we did hear Elena and Sabrina talk specifically about the university courses, but I wanted to call out that they're bespoke courses. And they're tailored to meet the accreditation requirements of the New South Wales accreditation body, which is NESA. We're very excited that they have employed an experienced classroom teacher, an education researcher, and a mathematician to jointly deliver the coursework. All the lectures and tutorials are delivered online. They are recorded for flexible viewing, and the assignments are staggered with lots of potential to hand in early for our fast finishers. And finally, the mentoring arm of the program allows experienced teachers to develop their leadership and provides a pedagogical lens for the participants as they interact with complex mathematics. They're given extensive accredited training and supported by Simone and myself. Each week they meet virtually with their participant to celebrate successes, help overcome challenges, and share small bites of professional learning. The mentors minute these meetings, and Simone and I can access those notes. And that means all of the players in the support system are aware of the supports needed and provided. So thank you very much for listening to us today. And we're very excited to see if you have any questions. Our details are on that last slide. So when you get access to that, you'll be able to contact us if you need to.